Hey guys, it's your boy, Ballface8020, back again with another great commentary. So I failed on my latest fast, but I really do feel like this was my strongest fast yet, and I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm ready to go again and give it another try. So let's just go over, the fasting history again with me. First time I started fasting or tried fasting would have been like 12 years ago, maybe. That's when I heard about, or read about doing it for therapeutic reasons. Since then, I've tried about 1,000,000 times to do it, and usually it failed pretty hard. I mean, I've always failed, just sometimes harder than others. And, historically, I mean, I guess, I first got introduced to it for health and weight loss reasons. And then I got more interested in using it for, health, like mental health as opposed to physical health. But also, I don't really like to say spiritual reasons because I'm not looking to be enlightened or anything. I just want to have a mystical experience or an otherworldly experience, like something like an out of body experience. But I mean, I that may be asking too much. So, but something that would be considered like an altered state of consciousness. And don't get me wrong, I would just use drugs, but they don't work for me. I can't use mushrooms because of my SSRIs. Makes it so I just don't react. Mushrooms don't get me any high, or I don't have any experience on them. And I can't get the other stuff that could potentially, I don't even know if DMT would work for me with my SSRIs. And, salvia is like such a crapshoot. Like a bad trip on salvia, you can be stuck in there for hundreds, even thousands of years, from what I've heard. And so I don't really know if I would want to do salvia anyway. And so this is it. Because any thing, because I would read about is like the Native American Vision Quest, and they would go out into the woods, no food, no water, 3 to 5 days. But these were guys who, they had a lot of prep beforehand. Like they grew up in a spiritual culture. They never saw an iPhone, or they didn't know what the internet was. And it was like they were living in a non-industrialized area. So they were already more connected to nature. And then, you're isolated in nature for 5 days. It's different than doing it around your home. And so the fasting is just part of it. So I wasn't I wasn't going into this idea that fasting is going to be the answers and give me some kind of mystical experience. But but it's at least a start. At least if I can do the fasting part, then I can worry about adding the other things. So anyway, in previous fasts, I have and I've talked about this here. Sometimes I just haven't gotten anything out of it. But I noticed, a while ago, that if I could, stick it out for 3 days, I'd feel better at the end. When I went back to start eating again, because usually I'd do it to, manage depression. Like, when the depression got too bad, a 3-day fast would be kind of a reset. The effect would wear off pretty quick, but it would have that impact. And, yeah, so, that's been, and I've tried different ways of doing it. Because, it used to be, when I tried to do it, I could never get past the 24 hours. It was I'd be miserable, I'd be losing my mind, but I could make it to 24 hours, and then that was it. I think one time, this was, again, back a long time ago, I made it to, 2 days, but I was so hungry by the end of that, by the 48-hour mark, that I proceeded to eat 5,000 calories within the next hour and a half. For those like short ones, I never noticed any impact. Where I was starting able to have success running longer fasts was when I learned about dry fasting. Now, I don't recommend any of this. I'm just telling you what I did. And with dry fasting, you can hear like, personally, I think there's a place for it. I don't really think I don't think I'm a good fit for it. I think it's more for people who are more advanced in their fasting practice, and really know what they're doing and their bodies have already adjusted to it. But if you're like somebody who's got a lot of toxic sludge in your body, like most people in the developed world, maybe even most in the undeveloped world, you don't have a healthy lifestyle and something. Well, when you're doing a detox, you don't want to add dehydration on top of it. You need water to help flush everything out. But the thing about I was intrigued when I read about all the benefits of dry fasting, and you'll notice in the Bible and stuff, when they go on their fast, they're dry fast. Not always, but usually. And you can look at like shamanic traditions and traditional cultures, and when they fasted, they did it dry. They did it without any water, not any food or any water. And it makes sense when you think about it. But they were, again, these are all fasts that they are not health fasts at all. These fasts have nothing to do with health and wellness. They're purely for religious experiences. So the logic is there. I am still interested in it. Like I said, it's just not for me at this point. But then another thing is that I had read, and it made sense, is when you don't drink water, the hunger is a lot more bearable. And that's why that, for a while when I fasted, I did dry fasting. Because as long as there was no water, and maybe there'd be slight thirst, maybe not so slight thirst, but maybe there's some thirst, but it would keep the hunger from being just unbearable. Whereas it would get to a point where I essentially couldn't function. I was so hungry. All I could think about was food. And by avoiding water, I was able to avoid that. And in terms of length, the longest fast I ever had it was either 80 hours or 84 hours. We'll just say 84 hours was my longest fast ever. And, I owe it why I made it that far. This was years ago. It may have even been before COVID. I didn't drink any water. And, so we're on day 3, right? And no, I'm hungry. I don't feel good at all. I'm a little thirsty, but it's there. It's under control. But I'm thinking, well, 3 days. I'm probably in ketosis now, so I'm still not going to drink water. But I'm getting there probably, even though I don't feel great. But I went on a walk. Wasn't a long walk, but I went on a walk outside. It was very sunny, very hot. And when it came back, I was just too thirsty. I tried for a while. I sat down in the air conditioning, and it was like, no, I need some water. I'm too thirsty. So I drank some water, a lot of water, like a big, probably 2-cup glass, then half of another 2-cup glass. And for a little bit, I felt a lot better. But then 10, 15 minutes at most, I get hit with this overwhelming hunger. The hunger of this is what you get when you don't eat for 3 days. I was so fucking hungry. Maybe the hungriest I've ever been in my life. Tried to lie down, wasn't tired enough to sleep, and was too hungry to even lie down. And I just couldn't do it. There was a cold hoagie in the fridge, and all I wanted was to go and eat that hoagie, and I did. And so yeah, to this day, that's the longest I've ever made it. I told you about my more recent fast where I got to around 72 hours. That one wasn't dry though. But again, as I've explained before, in all these fasts, I've gone into them with my, conventional crappy Western diet, except my Western diet is probably worse than most people's Western diet. I essentially, like most people eat a lot of junk food. I essentially eat only junk food. The other food, non-junk food, is just too bland to me. And like I never have a home cooked meal. It's fast food, donuts, pretzels. So I mean, the only non-junk food that I consume is milk, and it's not like that's great for you either. So yeah, so for me, right, it's maybe even a little worse than for most people. So anyway, so recently, if you've been following me, you would know that a couple months ago I started reading like fiction. Not really sure why. I'm not sure what my goal was, why I started doing it, and it's really helped. It's helped with the mood and a little bit with the sleep. And I was doing it for a while, and I was feeling better enough and motivated enough that I was like, well, maybe I can try eating healthy again. I'm a little bit more focused now, a little bit more motivated. This is helping, and maybe I can, take it to the next level. I mean, eating healthy, I've never been able to sustain it before, but then I started thinking more about it. I was like, yeah, I probably can't sustain it, and I'm just going to go crazy if I try to go on it. I won't be like, I'll just, like this first or second day, I'll be just like, I can't live like this and give up. So what if I go on instead with the idea of I'm just going to do this for a few weeks? Because I know at the end of it, like 3 weeks, the cravings are going to be so overwhelming that I won't be able to do it. So like do it a few weeks, let my body adjust, and then go into a fast in a healthier state, or a state like where, I'm not dehydrated, and I'm not going to be like, because you're going to be hungry no matter what, but I'm not going to be in sugar withdrawal or grain withdrawal, like grain withdrawal, gluten withdrawal, shit like that. And so yeah, let's do that. Let's try it. And it wasn't easy, but after like 2 days or so of it, I started to feel noticeably better. And that gave me the motivation to keep doing it. And it's like, yeah, okay, I really want Doritos or donuts or pretzels, and I really want some Sprite Chill, not regular Sprite. I don't like that. The new cherry Sprite they have, Sprite Chill, is awesome. I think it's the best soda ever. The only thing that I could compare it to that's almost as good is Barq's root beer. Non-Barq's root beer is disgusting. I hate it. Barq's root beer is really good. But anyway, so yeah, it was hard, and I did it. But like I said, I felt so much better. I mean, I still felt like crap, but better than I had before. So I think I was about 10 days of it. And one thing is when I eat clean, one thing is that I'm not hungry in the mornings. Like I wake up not hungry, and I don't really start to develop an appetite until the middle of the day. So I think it was Thursday of this week, I was like, all right, didn't eat breakfast, because I've also recently switched to taking my medication for depression. I take it at night instead of in the morning. And the reason that's relevant is because if you can't take it on an empty stomach. It gives you just like murderous acid reflux. At least it does for me, and I don't think I'm the only one. So, I have to so even if I'm fasting, what I do is I'll pour out like a tiny shot of kefir, like just plain unsweetened kefir, and then I'll use that to swallow my pill. But anyway, in the morning, because, that means that in the morning I always have to take something. But since I'm taking my pill at night, it's not an issue in the morning. You wake up, shower, go to work. And I don't have to worry about taking any pill or anything. So, I'm at work and a few hours in, and I'm not hungry. And like when I do eat, it's only going to be something bland like brown rice and chicken. So if that's all I can eat anyway, it's like, okay, let's just see it. Let's let this go. Let's let this play out. And, like, let's, you did this because you wanted to try fasting with a clean diet beforehand. Let's do it. I hadn't been planning it ahead of time, but I've been thinking about it. But there was a few days where I thought, okay, yeah, I'll try it today. And then, I was like, got hungry. And I was like, no. But this one, it just felt right. It felt like it was time to give it a try. And yeah, so I did it. And the I feel like the result was I made it 71 hours. And in a way, I kind of made it more than that, because like the last meals that I had, I didn't know I was going to be going into a fast. So I had some like late night milk the time before that, not because I was hungry, because I was thirsty. And so you could actually say that, I mean, yeah, technically it was 71 hours, but really, by the way you'd interpret it, there wasn't like a last meal in 72 hours. It was further back than that. Just I had some milk, which made it 71 hours instead of 75 hours. But we'll say 71 hours, okay? Because it's not necessarily about the length. Even if it were 75 hours, it wouldn't be my longest ever. So first day, and that's the thing, right? And that's like, because when I'm eating my normal diet, right, just to get into a fast is hard. Like, I very frequently don't make it through the first day. I very frequently don't make it through 12 hours. Well, this one, I wasn't even hungry at the 14-hour mark. At the 14-hour mark, I still hadn't even gotten hungry yet. So getting through that first 24 hours, yes, by the end of that 24 hours, I was getting hungry. Or I probably about, it wasn't even then, it probably like 18 hours in, maybe even sooner than that, I started getting a little bit hungry. And then, yeah, it got worse and got more unpleasant. And it wasn't terrible, though. And then I would say by the end of the 24 hours, it was already calming down. Like, the worst of day one was over by the end of day one. And so, no, it wasn't like 100% effortless, but it was, compared to the other day ones of fast, no problem, including the one that I did totally, the long one I did totally dry. And, I came into this one, I said, I'm not going to try to do anything dry this one. So I'm not going to let myself dehydrate. I'm going to drink plenty of water. And I did. Day 2 felt pretty good. I started supplementing electrolytes because I was drinking a lot of water. When you drink a lot of water, you need to supplement the electrolytes, or you're just going to, well, some people can apparently get away with it, but you're going to probably faint and maybe die if you don't supplement your electrolytes. So day 2, the hunger was worse, but, it wasn't terrible. And I mean, there were parts of it where it was maybe getting pretty bad. It was never terrible or unbearable, though. Again, anytime I got thirsty, I drank water, so I was fine on that front. I started to actually feel a little bit more energy than I usually have. Most people are probably feeling a little tired by day 2, but again, I feel like such shit most of the time, like, and so fatigued most of the time, that I actually felt better than I usually did. But in day 2, I did start noticing, like, because in all the fasts that I've done, I have noticed, it's like a lot of times I'll be feeling better pretty quickly. But I just attribute that to, well, yeah, because I'm eating tons of junk food. And then now all of a sudden I'm not. So day 2 or whatever, I should feel better just because, the gluten and sugar is out of my system. Because, again, I have a gluten sensitivity. So but this one, and I'm trying to remember, I can't remember any others. This is the first fast I had where I don't get me wrong, I felt better in a lot of ways, but I actually felt like detoxy. Like my body was detoxing. Like I was getting detox symptoms. And one detox symptom that I've tried to look this up to see if anybody else has the same one, but it's these like really painful. I mean, not horrible, but painful sinus pressure. And that's what that started on day 2. And it was I didn't know what it was all about, but I was like, this could be a detox thing. And by the way, it went away once I started eating, so I think it probably was. I don't know. I was just, I don't know, felt detoxy. I don't know how to really describe it other than that. Like the most noticeable symptom was the sinus pressure, but so I was like, and that doesn't really make sense to me. Like what, like it, I don't know. I was just thinking, like, am I like fast forwarding this compared to the others? Because I never remember, even though one of my main interests in fasting was detoxing, in other fasts I've had, I've never felt like I was detoxing at all. But this time I really did. I noticed in this fast that my, I got pimples all over my body, and that they were shrinking. And the thing is, I don't know if they were shrinking because there's a good chance they had already started shrinking just from the clean eating, because I hadn't really thought about checking them. So I don't know what happened there. But one thing that I did notice is the rashes that I have, because I got rashes all over too. Those like either disappeared or at least stopped hurting and itching like they usually do. By day 2 of the fast. And I was already eating clean, so it was that was something. The energy was weird. It was like, on one hand I had more energy, on the other hand I was so weak I couldn't use it. Because again, day 2 of the fast, there were parts where the hunger got pretty bad, but late in day 2 at night, so this would have been Friday night, there was a thing where I just had to go on a walk. Not like I'm forcing myself to go on, but I had so much energy that I had to get out and walk. And I ended up going for like 2 miles, which for me is pretty far. Usually I don't go that far. And it would, with no break, because normally I wouldn't be able to go that far, and if I did, I'd take a break in the middle. And now I had gone on a 2-mile walk, I think, like a few days before that. So I'm not saying it never happens. It never happens if I'm not eating clean. But if I eat clean for a while, it'll happen sometimes. But this one, it was weird because I wasn't really feeling that way. I was feeling detoxy, withdrawally, whatever you want to call it. And I just went, needed to go out on a walk. And even though I also felt weak. So, that was a good sign. And yeah, and then day 3, I woke up feeling really bad. I felt like sick. I was, the sinus pain pressure was terrible. I had, like this, I can't remember where this pain was. I had like some really major aches and pains, and I just felt, sick. Now, now after I got out of bed, drank some water, and just got ready for the day, I pretty quickly started to feel better. But it was like I woke up, I did feel sick, upon waking. And even if it went away pretty fast. And for the remainder of the day, I continued to feel detox. By the way, I don't remember that happening in any of the other fasts either. Like feeling actually like sick on the 3rd day. I continued to feel detoxy. I was hungry, and then I felt, though, like overall, like both the hunger and the detox symptoms weren't as bad as day 2. So I was like, okay, maybe it's coming around, and I was already planning in my head. I was like, oh, this is it. I've cracked the code, and it's only going to get easier from here. And I admit there's no reason I can't run this out 40 days. And, it went like that. And again, the hunger had stayed bearable. We're in day 3. Hunger was bearable. It wasn't getting, there were times where it felt like it was getting worse, but then it would go back, not go away, but it wouldn't be as bad. And I wasn't really thinking like, for a normal fast, when I'm breaking, like, I wasn't really thinking that much about junk food. Like donuts and fast food. They sounded good. I wouldn't have turned them down, but I would have been more than okay with like a steak or eggs or something. And then I was thinking like, okay, yeah, look, this sucks. It's getting worse, but at least, I'm going to finish the night out, get to the, 72 hours. Then a few hours after that, it'll be time for bed. And, I'll sleep, I'll wake up for a little bit, go back to sleep. By the time, it'll be, 84 hours by the time everything's, I don't know, ready to proceed. If I'm still starving then, I can eat then. And, but you got to at least get to 84 hours, to finish. Because, this is the strongest you've ever been on a fast. Let it play out. That was how I felt. I thought about it. I was totally happy with that. And then and that was, my plan. That was my plan. And I was even going to make, even plan to say like, okay, we'll make a video, because this is all happening last night after I posted last night's video. We'll make a video tomorrow afternoon and, decide, just giving everybody an update, and we can decide where to go from there. And then, yeah, like I said, that was the plan. So I'm sitting at my computer, just hanging out, trying to kill the time, watching YouTube videos. I was like, I just couldn't like get myself to read. I was just like so unmotivated about everything, and just like all I could do was just sit and listen to videos. And it got to a point where there was like the videos just like nothing. I like there was no interest in anything. There was just like this mega apathy. But I couldn't just sit there and do nothing because, well, not only is that hard for me to do anyway, but the hunger was too distracting. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll try to go read again. So, I tried to read. I mean, I tried to go on a walk, and I could only make it like a couple of blocks. I was just too weak. Tried to read, and I couldn't concentrate. I was too hungry. And then like, because it came like, it was like out of nowhere. It was like within the span of 2 minutes. Like I'm fasting. And then within the span of 2 minutes, like I can't do this anymore. I can't go on. Like all this is, I don't care. Like health benefits, mystical experience. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I just want to go downstairs, put the, Chinese food in the microwave and, eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch while I'm waiting for it to get out. That's all I want, and that's what I'm going to do. And then, boom, did it. So, like, a lot of times when I'm, like, fasting, it'll be, like, I'll be, like, arguing for hours or at least minutes, with myself. Like, no, come on, you can hold out. You don't want to do this. This time, it was, like, out of nowhere. Like, I'm fine. And then within the span of, like, 1-2 minutes at most, the fast is broken. And, so I did it, and at first, no regrets, because I was just so hungry. It wasn't quite as good as I had expected it to be, but it was good. Like I said, made the fake Chinese food, got the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I didn't have any soda at the house. But I mean, there is a problem, right? That because I had been eating clean before that. Well, that's gone now. Now, I mean, who knows how long it's going to be before I'm able to eat clean again. And the thing is, the reason I didn't break it with a clean meal was because the hunger was so overwhelming. It was like I wasn't going to wait the 8 minutes it took to make the eggs, to make the eggs, and then the 2 minutes to microwave the turkey bacon. I wasn't going to wait, and that wasn't going to be enough anyway. Like I only would have like 4 eggs and a plate of turkey bacon. I still would have been too hungry. I would have needed more. No, I wasn't going to wait. I was just going to go and do it. And so I didn't even break it with like a clean meal, and like, because if I had done that, then I could have just picked up where I left off. continue to eat clean for a few more days. And then after, I'd recovered from the fast, give it another try. Now it's going to be like a whole another couple of weeks whenever I do it again. But anyway, so it's over now, and I'm thinking about it, looking back on it, and I feel like, okay, well, like, what did I learn? Well, like, again, I really feel like I made progress. I feel like this is my best fast ever. Even though it wasn't my longer, I felt like the detox really was happening this time. Doesn't really make sense to me why the detox would be like, why would I have like really been detoxing this time and not in the other fast? Because if anything, the detox should have been more severe, going just from total junk food to no food at all versus a relatively clean diet to no food at all. But I don't know. I guess my body was just primed for it, in a way that it wasn't for the other thing. And maybe my body had already started detoxing in the week and a half that I was eating clean. And it was like ready to it was ready to go in this time. But I really do feel like I was detoxing. I feel like I held out really well in overall until that, last minute where I fell apart. And I think that, and then, as I've started to think more about it, the thing that I am disappointed about is, at the time, it wouldn't have made a difference because I didn't care about anything except eating. But I was also thinking like, because before that, I was thinking, well, I got to make it at least until tomorrow afternoon. So that's the thing is, I've got to make it at least 4 more hours. But then, I go to when I go to bed. But then when I go to bed, wake up, I've got to, make it, at least to the afternoon. And then I'm going to feel obligated to be like, well, now you got to make it at least till the night. So in my head, I was like, another day of this shit. And then I got to go to work the day after that. And no, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Whereas I think that what I should have done is then okay, well, look, this is your first fast where you're doing it properly. Your body really is detoxing. When you read the shit that they say the hunger is more under control usually starting day 4. Some people say day 5. Some people say day 3. I actually felt at first like day 3 was better than day 2 in terms of hunger. And then it's at the end, it got really bad. And look, maybe day 4 doesn't do it. I don't know. But at least give it a try. Because, usually when you see people, like if you watch the videos on YouTube talking about fasting, when it comes to the day 4, they mention feeling like shit, but they don't mention the hunger. I can deal. I dealt with feeling like shit all of day 3. It's fine. I can handle it. The hunger is a different story. I just felt like I remember, dude, I was looking at fruit, which I don't like at all, and being like, man, that looks good. That's how hungry I was. And thinking about eating potatoes and beans and shit. That's not me. Fantasize about eating a hamburger or something, sure. But, fantasize about eating clean foods? No, that's not me. And so I'm not saying that making it to day 4 is some panacea. After all, I have made it to day 4 before. And again, that aforementioned longest ever fast, Baldface 80/20 fast. And, wow, this video is going on really long. But that's my goal then, is for the next time. So, when I'm not sure when the next time I'm going to do it, but that's going to be my goal, is make it through the full 3 days, as in you go to sleep that night. Even if it's taken you, even if you're at the 76-hour mark, 78-hour mark, whatever. You go and you finish, you finish that 3 days, and then just do that. And then see how you feel on day 4. If you get to day 4 and you're still too hungry that you can't take it, or you don't want to do it anymore, fine, quit. You never have to fast again. But at least, finish the process, and the that's going to be so I think if I go into it with that mindset, I can at least do that. Like go into and I would consider that, a triumph. And then like me, like I said, if if I go to, a non-dry fast, drinking water, and supplementing electrolytes, I make it through day 3, go to bed, wake up. On day 4, I would consider that, an achievement if I went into it that way. And if I couldn't go any further than that, or just didn't want to go any further than that, fine. But at least really give it a chance, to really give it an experiment. And that, in that sense, yeah, I do. As I know I didn't care at the time, but I wish that I had just finished the day, and taken it to day 4. And I think if I had just gone into it more mentally prepared, just saying like, no, you don't have to go 5 days or 7 days or 40 days like you're thinking about. Just make it through day 3. Just make it through day 3 and see how you feel on day 4, and then take it from there. You don't have to go any further. And I think if I had gone in with that plan, with that mindset, that I could have made it those last 4 hours, and I'd have at least had, like I said, I've completed the experiment, or what to say, and then, yeah, take it from there. So, I've, like I said before, I've researched a lot of stuff about fasting, watched fasting videos. There's this free YouTube movie called Fasting: The Healer Within, about these two likable but somewhat corny Australian Chad Light brothers who do this 20-day fast in the middle of nowhere together. And the main reason is the older brother, who was like supposed to be a professional, not rugby, but like that kind of quasi rugby that they have in Australia called Australia Rules Football. I think that's what he was. Basically, he fucked up his back, and it ended his career. But he's still in, like, I mean, they're both chiseled. They both look like total. Even pre-fast, they look like, like Roman statues. But he's, done rehab and stuff, but he has constant back pain. Because, back issues are just, like, hard, impossible to fix. Or they can be. And so he's interested in this as a means of fixing his back pain. And I guess he's an amateur filmmaker, so he wants to make a movie about it, too. And then I can't remember the reason why he wants his brother to do it with him. Or why his brother wanted to do it with him. Because, there are brothers like this. Like, if you like boxing, the Klitschko brothers, they're brothers who just, like, really love each other. And I guess I'm kind of close with my brother, but I don't, like, he's, like, I was never somebody who I would have done something like that with. Like, go out in the middle of nowhere for 20 days. First of all, he would never have agreed to do something like that. But it's just not something that, like, that I need to do. Or, like, you can think of, like, again, the Klitschko brothers in boxing. Like, when, I remember when the older brother avenged one of his younger brother's losses, and after it was over, he was saying, "I love my brother." And it's like, dude, you guys are fucking weird. And, like, they have so many pictures of them together, like, hugging and stuff. And, which is wholesome, I guess. It's just, I don't know. I don't envy it. Like I said, I've got a brother. I don't have a relationship like that with him, and I don't want it to be like that. But anyway, so he does this. They document this 20-day fast, and while they're doing it, they interview other people who've experienced healing from fasting. It's a well-done video, movie. Maybe not the most interesting thing ever, but it's okay. And there's this one guy who says he healed himself from cancer with it. And one person other people who've had healing stories. But the interesting thing is that at the end, he's like, yeah, it didn't work. I still have the back pain. Now, he didn't say if it had improved or not, so I don't know. But they said that, yeah, my back's still fucked up, which makes sense when you think about it, because what the reason that his back probably hurts is there's probably some bone or piece of cartilage poking on some nerve. Well, you can fast all you want. It's not, as long as it's something that nerve is being poked, you're going to be in pain. So, it may not have been the right treatment for this disease, for his particular disease, like, which is likely more structural. Good try though, right? So yeah, but anyway, like, so I was watching it again, watching them like during the fast, and because you'll see a lot of stuff on YouTube, people talk about like, oh, after a few days you get so much energy and you feel great, and these guys who are going into the fast already in great shape, you can see them like 10 days in at most, probably fewer than that. They're really struggling. These guys are not doing well at all, but neither of them. And, they're just like miserable, pale. They, have no energy. And like when they're talking to their mom on Skype, because she says, yeah, I noticed you guys aren't really bantering anymore, because I guess that they had it recorded so like their family could monitor their progress and make sure they weren't like dying or something. And like they were just like becoming so lethargic. And when they were interviewing and talking about like they would do things where they would talk to the camera and talk about how they're feeling, and they said that they were both, feeling just awful and thinking about food a lot. So, the thing is, I don't, it's like when people say stuff like you get tons of energy or the hunger just goes away. I mean, that might happen for some people. I don't think it's the norm. I think you're probably going to be hungry for all 40 days if you do it that long. Now, one thing I would say is that these guys were already lean. So, like very lean, as in they already had six packs. So, maybe when you're like that, you're more likely to get hungry. Like somebody like me who's got huge, huge stores of body fat in general, belly fat in particular. Maybe after I get fully into ketosis, it's maybe somebody like me really would lose the hunger. Then I was watching this guy who kind of looks like Steve Kerr, who is a raw food vegan, and he was talking about his experience on a 40-day fast. And from what he was saying, he said like I didn't really get much detox like feelings out of it. But this is a guy who he was already in good shape. He was already raw vegan. So he may have been missing vital nutrients, but a fast isn't going to help you if you've kind of already cleared yourself out through like extended, healthy eating and stuff. And he's done all types of other weird, likely bullshit detoxes. So I don't know that he's like necessarily a good example. But one thing that the one of the Australian guys mentioned like during his fast, during the video, is he mentioned not just physical feelings, but that emotions were coming up, like, like old emotions were coming up. And that's something I'm really interested in. Like a truly deep catharsis where not just like you physically get cleaned out, but emotionally get cleaned out. Because a lot of my problems, are depression. And, like there's some suppressed emotions in there that if they're released, it could help deal with this shit. And it really convinced me that I do want to try it again. I don't know when that's going to be, because I'll tell you what, it's definitely not going to happen until I start eating clean again. And, start eating clean for at least a few days. Maybe more like a week or, 10 days. Probably not for, but I would say that, yeah, I don't see myself being able to go into a fast after eating clean for a few days. I'd have to eat clean for another 10 days, I think. And then then I can try it again. And like I said, just make it through 3 days. Make it to going to bed after 3 days, and then from there, take it from there. If the hunger isn't bearable, okay, fasting's not for me. But I really do think I can give it one more try. And then who knows, maybe if and then another thing I could try is, even if I can't make it at that point, even if like after 3 days, I can't like go any further. Well, maybe if I, prep the food in advance, I can break it with clean food instead of junk food, go right back to the clean eating for, a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then try it again. And then maybe over time I can build up. you know. So that's my plan now. This is still something I want to pursue, and we'll see how it goes. That's all for now. See you in the next.